perhaps it is going to be about jungle advantage, the matchup there, and controlling the bottom lane from the bomb.
See, I really like that sort of way of thinking, because the question is, do you focus out the enemy's strengths and try and weaken them and match them with your strengths, or do you say, this is their weak point, let's focus ban him, let's pick to have a strong bottom lane and try and get the game snowballing away from them? We'll see what the teams decide to do as we jump into pick and ban. Bombers representing the OPL on the blue side, and Isurus Gaming representing Latin America on the red.
And taking away the Karthus here does make sense. Certainly has been a pick that we are seeing some of. Audi has played it. Certainly, I think, as a farming jungler, that is something that you do really like to play. It also does free up your ability to go more heavily on the physical damage side if you want to use flex picks such as Jason Aurelia. So taking that off the table is going to limit their options somewhat. Galio also has been actually pretty high priority today, especially in combination with Camille. We've been seeing a lot of that pick, and not only will that shut down some of the ability to get that hard engage for Rogue and FBI, it does kind of make Camille, I would say, a lower value pick in the draft.
It definitely does. Nautilus getting removed here by the Bombers as well. We've seen that mostly in the mid lane, can of course be flexed towards the support. Aurelia, the final ban, alongside the Rise and Galio from Isurus Gaming. And Silas will be the first lock here for Bombers.
Yeah, Silas has been a very strong pick. We've seen Zeros have some really impressive games on it. Ryoma did have one game, in the OPL on it. Mimic, did not play it in the OPL. It is a flex pick, certainly, between top and mid. We'll have to see where it goes. And, these flex picks are so strong on the blue side simply because, you're denying your opponents the ability to actually gain that knowledge to get a free counter pick in these early phases. And we'll see where they want to go. Taking away the Varus, I think, especially when FBI did have a really strong game on it, is intelligent, especially when I think some of these OPL teams do like to play extremely aggressive. We see the Bombers having trouble with Braum in the past, and even in the last game, kind of struggling to deal with its ability to really shut down some of the aggressive plays that FBI was trying to make in the last match, where he's ulting forward on Kai'Sa, he's getting tagged by the concussive blows, he's getting stunned up, he's getting blocked out, and this is going to give Morangelus and Slow a very strong duo, and also shut down some of what FBI wants to do in team fights.
Definitely is. Even in game one, we saw FBI and Rogue being very aggressive in that bottom lane up against PvB, and it ended up costing them. Big Koro would just wait around for the jungle gank, and then they'd be able to pick up a couple of kills. Here, once again, a strong bot lane, a strong support, for Rogue. He's going to get the Thresh, and the Jarvan will be locked in at the final pick on this rotation for Bombs.
I will say, I really do like the fact that you're getting Balkan on an early aggressive jungler. This is someone that can make plays, someone that can get out on the map, even going for early ganks, things like the level 2 mid lane. One of the things that Balkan really did like to do in the OPL is actually challenge for one scuttle and then cut straight through mid lane towards the other scuttle, not afraid to actually show in that mid lane and kind of threaten to go for that 2v2 against the opposing jungler. Against someone like Kindred, that is something you're going to be able to have the ability to do, and you certainly want to play to deny those early marks from Kindred. So that in combination with Thresh here for Rogue is going to mean not only early ganking potential, but very strong gank assist coming out of your jungler.
Kindred is a very good early skirmish jungler, though. We had a bit of a discussion about this yesterday. We'll break it down a little bit more when we get into the game itself as well. We have got into the second pick ban phase. It's the Jace Kennen removed by Isurus. Bombers will take away that Azir from Saya.
Yeah, Jace another flex, but certainly looks like they are targeting Mimic more. This was the MVP in the OPL. Certainly someone you're going to want to control, especially when Bugax hasn't been having the best day, has been struggling in some of these lanes, certainly against Rune in particular, was having a very rough time there. And
I don't think anyone's had a good time against Ruin yet today.
That's true.
Ruin
He's been looking good.
That top lane jungle synergy from Fenerbahce has been incredibly powerful so far. LeBlanc getting banned out here as well. Isurus Gaming looking for their top laner and for their mid laner on this second set of picks.
Zilean would be, I think, a fantastic pick here. When you're already looking at multiple champions from the side of Bombers that do want to dive, it's not going to be the lock-in. I do think, though, Karma also fits well into this composition. You have two marksmen. You have Braum as that pseudo frontline. You're going to be able to proc the Braum passive incredibly fast. I do think this is the kind of comp where it actually warrants a supportive style Karma build.
Yep.
Things like, Ardent Sensor early on is going to be incredibly powerful for team fights when you can apply that to multiple people. It is looking like we're going to get Hecarim top, very likely. There is the chance that it is going to be J4 top, Hecarim jungle, but especially with Mimic sitting on Ignite and Teleport, that is likely the option. This is all about hard engage, and you are going into the Kindred. So you're going to have to be very careful about how you're doing that. And if you do fall behind, it can be incredibly difficult to actually deal with Kindred, with Karma, these champions that are going to be able to kind of absorb the initial engage and kind of come out on top afterwards. So Bomber's very clear goal here.
Yeah, definitely very strong composition from Bombers, but I love what Isurus are doing as well. Bugak's saying, hey Mimic, we just saw you play the Fiora. Let me show you how it's done. Let me show you how you can play this top lane matchup. Because coming into this tournament, a lot of people talked about how strong Hecarim was and how dominating he could be in the top lane. We are starting to see a few top laners pick some of these counters, like the Fiora.
Yeah, the Fiora certainly can be a preferential matchup. As you're getting later on into the game, I do think that Hecarim has opportunities to actually, win in those early stages, especially when you are running the Ignite. If you're going to pull Balkan up there, and Balkan and Mimic do like to pair up very heavily in the OPL, that's something that Bugax is going to have to be very, very careful about. And you're going to have to be very, very careful about for Audi as well. I mean, if you actually try to go up there and you try to take the 2v2, that should be in Bomber's favor. I will say, though, if this goes into the later stages of the game, Bugax has the ability to be in a side lane, to win those side lane duels, 1v1 certainly. And they do have a strong four-man squad, and this is looking very much like kind of a 1-4 type of composition here from Isurus. Whereas the OPL squad, the Bombers, they want to group up, they want to dive you, they want to get those initial kills, and if they're not able to do it, I do think they will struggle.
We'll have to see. One of these teams will have a win on the board after this game, but so far both 0-2 against the favorites in the group, PVB and Fenerbahce.
And something I've got to immediately point out is it is actually Klepto Karma here from Seo. So this is actually something that you do see sometimes from top lane Karma. I have not seen it very often in the mid lane, but he obviously feels like he's going to be able to get a lot of those autos off on Ryoma and really kind of escalate his kind of item curve, basically, speed up towards those initial items. And especially if you are going for the supportive style build, those are already pretty cheap items, and you can reach those kind of power points pretty quickly.
Is that the expectation? Because sometimes we do see Karmas go for like the Ludens, get some AP under their belt. Here, maybe the Ardent Sensor Athene's sort of build to buff up that Varus as much as possible? I
mean, I would definitely think so, especially when you have both the Varus and the Kindred. Ardent Sensor becomes so good with double marksman. If you're also an auto attacker, I think there's an incredible amount of value if you are grouped with that style. We may still see him go flat AP. Ludens, I think, is definitely stronger in the 1v1, but something like Chalice into an Ardent, I think, can be very, very effective if they want a team fight. But there is kind of, I would say, some value in either build.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And part of it is what Isurus, how they decide to play the game. Like if they think they can take the team fight to Bombers, if they think they want to go for that 1-4. On the side of Bombers, we talked about how strong their team fight is, but I think looking at it, there's this level of disruption they have as well in the team fight. The zone control with the Hecarim ult, with the Cataclysm, with Fate's Call chucking Thresh into the backline as well. It's not all about just having these front-to-back team fights. It's about isolating targets on their own in those fights.
Yeah, and I think they also have incredibly good pick, right? Hecarim does have very strong engage. J4, Callista Thresh can be throwing them in. Obviously, you have to think about the ultimates that Sylas can steal anytime he is in the game, so there is going to be the ability to take away Kindred ult and things like that also. But I do think, they are going to be looking less for fighting a straight up 5v5 where Isurus can absorb that, and more for, getting a quick pick with their engage, eliminating someone, and kind of not having that fight on even keel.
Bombers waiting near their tri-bush here, expecting maybe a small invade from Isurus Gaming. Isurus nowhere near it at all. They've set up a line of scrimmage towards their own jungle, and we'll just be playing safe early on. We talked a bit before we got into picks and bans about the bot lane and the pressure we've seen from FBI and Rogue, their ability to step up. Callista Thresh is a traditionally incredibly aggressive, strong early game lane.
Yeah, it's really, really powerful. Even, as you're getting some more levels, post level 6, we know the Callista ultimate is incredible for engage, also for disengage there, and you have this lane set up where post 6, the Thresh can lantern the Callista out, and the Callista can ultimate, the Thresh out. So either or can kind of save the other one. And I do think that with Balkan here on the J4, bringing him down early and often to that bottom lane in combination with that Thresh Lantern is so strong.
So you do see Slow has taken the Oracle's lens here first to clear out any wards that are being put down by Bombers. They'll go for the late invade towards this red buff.
Yeah, and they're just going to have to take the red buff here. It's going to be sacrificed here by the Bombers. There's no way for Balkan to actually contest this. If your bot lane is not immediately there, I do think this is for sure the right choice. Give that up, perhaps go into vertical jungling. We'll see what exactly he does elect to do. The Bombers do have an opportunity to try to zone out Isurus' bot lane a bit, but...
Yeah, Rogue missing the flay really doesn't do many favors for that bot lane.
Yeah, and you have to now worry about where is the Kindred, because Kindred, you know, took your red buff. You don't know exactly where he has gone, and that is why Rogue is over there to check. They should be aware of the fact that he could be behind them.
There was a warning ping coming out on the Krug camp, so I think Bombers are aware that Kindred is probably somewhere in that area. The first mark is spawned on that bot side scuttle as well, which is so important for Kindred.
Yeah, it definitely is. You're always going to be going for a level 4, but...
Flash in here from the bot lane from Isurus Gaming. Rogue will land the flay, but he's so low. First blood goes over to the Bombers, but one in return for Isurus.
Yeah, Audi just got too close to the tower there, and taking that one tower shot is the difference. The Bombers are going to be happy with that one, honestly. You took the red buff off of Audi. He didn't even get a chance to actually take that scuttle first. This means also that Balkan is very safe to take this red buff away and actually trade that back on the other side. So now you're up against a first blood red buff Kalista here.
Just gives even more power to them in that lane. Want to see Balkan actually pathing down towards that bottom side now as well. You've got no flashes on Isurus, and this is how that happened.
Yeah, so here it is one more time. Q Flash Ignite. They're going for Rogue here. Audi gets flayed by Rogue, just barely into the turret range. That play from Rogue changing the fight dramatically and allowing FBI to grab that first blood.
Almost pixel perfect there. Yeah. Right on the edge of the tower range. But I have to give credit to Rogue and to the Bombers bottom lane, being able to find a kill in return for that gank coming out from Audi. Now, Audi has decided he's going to go towards his blue buff, just trying to keep that vertical jungling going, but Balkan is around the corner. Could look for something here. Hasn't actually spotted Audi as of yet. Just waiting around the bend to see if anything happens towards that mid lane.
Yeah, you have to be pretty careful. As the Kindred, you can win duels against Jarvan, but not if you face check into him. It really does depend on if you can actually use the Dance of Arrows to jump out of the flag and drag. If you can avoid that.
Oh, can't quite land the abduct there. Saya dodges out from the EQ combo from Balkan as well, and we'll get back to safety. Didn't even have to burn a summoner.
Yeah, very well handled by him there, and the fact that they do take those turret shots is going to push Ryoma back. They're not sure where Audi is on the map, so he doesn't feel safe to actually stay around and help reset this. Rogue, though, making a roam over towards mid lane is going to allow him to spot out Audi. He should not be able to contest, actually, for that mark, and will still be stuck on one, but you know, really working towards that 4 marks is such an important part for Kindred. Getting the bonus range does mean you have such an easier time actually getting access in these team fights to consistently put out damage.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, getting those first 4 marks on Kindred gives you 75 extra range, makes it so much easier for you to team fight. Also, you can kind of make the marks spawn where you want them to spawn. Early on, when you're only sitting between 1 and 3 marks, it's only going to go on the Razorbeaks or the Gromp or the Scuttle Crab. So you can take the camp you don't want it to go on and make it spawn on a different one of your camps.
Yeah, exactly. There is ways that you can kind of manipulate that, even taking a delayed Scuttle if yours doesn't, if the first mark doesn't spawn on your side of the map, is a way to try to get that mark to actually force respawn on your side. And there definitely are some little tricks that you can do with that. It's essentially turning you from a Lucian into a Varus, though, which is, you know, pretty impactful. Going to be interested to see how this bottom lane is going to be going, though, as I do think Isurus is going to have to play with a lot of respect.
X-Flash used there by Rose, getting to the second push. Going to land the hook on towards Slow, flays him back as well, but that Braum is pretty tanky early on. The Kalista only sitting on a Vampiric Scepter at the moment, so it doesn't really have that burst damage that you want.
Yeah, definitely not just yet, but still, getting Guardian out, getting a little bit of chip and some health potions out and these sorts of things are important parts of actually, you know, whittling them down and perhaps being able to then call your jungler down to be able to pressure them more heavily.
And the thing is, you've got those, you know the flash timings, you know they're coming up pretty soon, so you want to get that chip damage in now so that the Jarvan can come and try and help out. He's down towards the bottom side of the map right now. He needs to clear out that control ward sitting in the river if Bombers wants to do anything.
Yeah, and you know, they are actually shoving up, so we'll see if they can bounce that bottom wave to be able to actually set it up so it is pushing back towards them, and you know, Isurus is having to expose themselves a little bit more to a potential gank from Balkan. Oh, but Audi just hopping over straight into Balkan.
Can't face check into the Jarvan. You taught me that a couple of minutes ago, Azale. And Audi agrees with you. Immediately jumps away.
Yeah, we'll have to be pushed back out. So far, the mid lane honestly going really well for Saya. Not only is he up farm, he is up farm with Butto. So he's getting the additional income of that, and we're going to find out where he is going to be building. So far, he does just kind of have the laning trifecta, and Balkan spotted here.
3v3 bot has been started. Ignite's going down as well. Concussive blows lands onto Rogue. FBI forced them back. Balkan checking in the front. The arrow doesn't quite connect. Seiya on his way down. FBI, one more auto will get him stunned up. He's locked down for the moment, but the EQ combo comes out from Balkan. Bombers get the first. The Q comes in from Seiya. He gets one. That's another. They almost get Rogue underneath the tower. Seiya's just tanking it up. Has to back out. Couldn't take another shot, but 2 kills to 1 in favor of Isurus.
Yeah, the Bombers just had to basically be in full retreat because they knew Karma was coming. They can't actually turn and fully commit to the fight, given that the extra man will be there for Isurus. And it's another mark going over to Audi, another kill going the way here of Warangelus, who is going to be put pretty far ahead off of that. 2 kills, he picks up a plate on the back end of the play. They're going to be really happy with how that did turn out.
Especially since, you know, this Varus was a very early sort of steal away pick from the Bombers. It's picked on the first rotation by Isurus. They needed to get it ahead. They needed to get it working. And he's sitting at 3,300 gold to only 2,800 from FBI right now. So the 500 gold lead in that bottom lane, Isurus across the board have about 1,300 gold ahead.
Yeah, definitely the case. And anytime, as that Kindred into the J4 matchup, that you can be matching or outpacing your opponent, you're going to be feeling very, very good. Mid lane is going great. Top lane is going great for Isurus. Their lanes are all just kind of winning across the board now, with that jungle help having gone down to the bottom side. They're going to be feeling pretty confident here. So we'll see if Balkan can actually get out on the map and try to force some sort of plays, try to get some advantages for his team.
Because you think there has to be a little bit of desperation in the back of the mind of Bombers here as well. They know that there's really good scaling on the side of Isurus, so they're going to try and make this place. They're going to try and force as Vulcan goes in underneath the tower, flash away from Warangelus, caught up in the Cataclysm. The shutdown comes out, and now it's only slow underneath the tower. He flashes away, FBI low, lanterned out, pulled back, and the Bombers execute a clean dive in the bottom lane.
Yeah, very, very well done there by the Bombers. Balkan hits level 6, he heads down the bottom lane, he is spotted out, but there's no way out for Warangelus. They get a plate, they get the flash, they get the kill. Audi now going to be looking to get something back on the top side of the map, and Slow may have stayed around too long.
Put in the box, he's not in tower range either, trying to get away, jumps on towards Rogue, but FBI is putting the spears in the back of the Braum, and he will lock him out. Another kill goes across towards the Callista, 3-1-1 now.
Yeah, and the Bombers were able to do that because they see Audi showing on the top side of the map. They know there's no potential for a counter gank there. That is now 3 plates going the way of the Bombers, so a very big swing off of that gank. Audi is farming away the entire top side from Balkan, so he is going to be grabbing a couple camps there and escalating his farm advantage, but certainly this play well worth it for Balkan.
It's the plates, it's how much XP you deny as those waves push into towards the tower as well. Warangelus about 10 farm down and a full Blade of the Ruin King on FBI for this back. Let's have another look at that once again.
Yeah, this is actually the earlier play, I do believe, with Seiya on the roam. Bombers know that he's going to be heading down, so they have to retreat. They're trying to just get out of there, but the slow onto FBI, he gets tagged by that concussive blows. But Balkan finds the opportunity to turn and to get that kill in trade. Does end up giving up his life here as Seiya comes in, snipes out 1 kill. Not quite able to pick up the second, and this is the subsequent play. Balkan post level 6. They know there is the flash, but another fight has broken out.
Action all the time here, Azael. 7 kills in 10 minutes. The chain of corruption came out, but Isurus were unable to follow up. Let's have a quick look at the state of play. It's 4 kills to 3, 10 minutes in. Gold basically even between these two teams, still fighting for their first wins here at MSI. Ryoma's building up towards Proto Belt. Blade of the Ruin King finished on FBI. On the other side, it's all parts of items for Isurus game.
And we are pretty much dead even here. I've gotten some answers as far as the itemization. Seiya with that lost chapter very likely going to go towards at least a Ludens before he may go back towards some of the more supportive style items. And Mimic starting to struggle a little bit in these duels up on the top side. Fiora, especially Grasp Fiora, can really kind of chip you down using the Q to proc both the Vital and the Grasp. You're constantly just looking for that, staying essentially in combat with those minions, and being able to Grasp proc over and over is very, very frustrating. So if Mimic cannot have the assistance from Balkan and get an all-in, you're not going to be able to whittle this Fiora down, who is going to be building towards Ravenous Hydra.
And if you're Bugax and Isurus Gaming as well, you're looking at those sort of trades and you're very, very optimistic. We talked about how he wants to be the split pusher in that 1-4 comp. If he can win trades at this point in the game, it's only going to get better for him.
Yeah, it certainly is. Fiora is a monster. Everyone knows in that side lane going forward. And Balkan, up here on the top side of the map, is working on Rift. Critically, it is pre-14 minutes, so plates are still available. And with Rift Herald dealing true damage, you can always get that kind of guaranteed 2 plates if it gets its charge off. So that is, essentially a kill's worth of gold that you can grab if they're going to be able to drop it pre-14.
It's like a buffet. You want to get all the plates you can at sale.
All you can
grabbing them. Oh, you get as much gold as possible. And that's why we talk about plates so much. You're getting gold over to your AD carry and FBI, who's got those 4 plates now in the bottom lane. If you get this Rift Herald down mid, Silas goes from having a 200 gold lead to having a 600 gold lead. It's so impactful.
And that's why I think it's such a cool addition to the game, because it rewards lane dominance so much, right? If you are winning your lane, it's not just the farm or the kills. It can be plates too, but Seiya down to the bot side.
FBI down to 300 HP, but Seiya was locked up there by Rogue. Slow on his way as well. The Hail of Arrows lands, but there's the Fate's Call to pull him out to safety. Good stuff from Bombers to resist that gank.
Yeah, it does cost them both their ultimates, but they got the heal out of War Angelus there, and honestly, not a bad trade. Ryoma's going to be able to shove up mid, so Seiya will lose some minions on the roam, and Balkan up here on the top side. I don't believe they know exactly where he is. Audi was spotted, and they're going to look for Kindred.
EQ, Audi flashes away, the Onslaught Shadow comes across, but he doesn't hit the fear, and that means Mimic will have to retreat. Silas on his way up, the Ryoma coming in. There's the teleport as well from Isurus to jump in with the Cataclysm straight into the Lamb's Respite. Grand Challenge came out as well. It's a Barney in the top lane, and Bombers are trying to get these kills, but all of Isurus surviving. Audi the first to fall, and now Bombers need to get out. Mimic down to about 200 HP. Bugax will get him. Balkan and Ryoma running for the wins as Seiya continues to land chain after chain. It's a double. Ryoma jumps the wall, gets out, but Isurus win the fight.
Back-to-back Kindred ultimates dropped there as Ryoma stole one and dropped it right after Audi's. First time I've actually seen that.
I was just like, why are they surviving for so long?
Wow, this is a long ultimate. What are they doing with that? But here it is one more time. Bombers really do kind of need to back off. After the ultimate misses, I don't think Mimic should be really going forward for any sort of a trade. Flag and Drag is on cooldown from Balkan. You have no ultimate on the side of the Hecarim. In comes Ryoma there with the second Kindred ultimate. Now it's a TP from Mimic down to the bot side, but you have no ultimate, bud.
Yeah, Glacial Fissure used, and Slow just disengages the fight straight away.
Yeah.
That felt a little bit too greedy from Bombers. Optimistic is a good
Very optimistic. He's looking glass half full there. But without the ultimate, I don't think that's a play that you're ever really going to be able to kind of make good on. And he's already down quite a bit of farm on the top side. He's going to be sacrificing more to go down and make that play without any sort of real benefit from that. So we'll see if Mimic is going to be able to stay relevant in this 1v1, is building towards the Triforce, and Bugax has his first item completed. And now again, we're down to the bottom side.
Yeah, Rogue there just able to disengage away from Isurus. It's a 3v3. We continue to see this in the bottom lane. Both the junglers actually doing quite a good job of tracking their opponents and keeping in line in the early game. I do want to mention, though, Rift Herald was not used before the 14-minute mark, so no extra plates coming out from that. 4 to 6, a slight gold lead for Isurus out of those.
Yeah, I do always love to see if it is dropped pre or post 14 minutes. First tower still on the table, though, and they're going to be looking to push up and get this. Seiya and Audi, though, are on Ryoma, and
but the thing is, Ryoma's just distraction. He's just a little bit of, meat, a little bit of worm on the hook there, distracting Isurus from the fact that tower went down in the bottom lane. Bombers will get the first turret. They are about 1,000 gold behind, but it's minuscule differences between these teams right now.
Yeah, and I'd like to see Balkan try to drop this, pretty soon here. It is going to expire, but Ryoma's down to the bot side looking for Slow.
Slow down to half HP. FBI on the chase. There's the first, the killing spree for the Callista. Ode on his way up, has the blast cone, but can just jump across the wall. Ryoma unable to survive. FBI now caught between 4 members of Isurus. Gets the double, takes one out in a 1v4. And Bombers will have to settle for a 2-for-2.
Really well played by FBI to get that additional kill, though, you have to say. Bugax going to have his recall delayed there by Balkan, which is pretty important because the minion wave is at his turret, but the Rift Herald's about to expire. We'll see if he does actually get to drop it before it goes off, and no, it just straight up expired. So
oh no, he's using it.
Okay, there it is. So he's going to be able to drop it. We'll see if they're going to be able to shove this all the way up and get that charge off, because there's quite a bit of time for Isurus to be able to respond, but at the same time, Seiya's roaming up to the top lane to deal with his Hecarim.
Seiya leaving the lane actually means they'll probably at least get a charge out of it. Onslaught of Shadows used by Mimic to try and get away. Seiya's still on the chase, but even with the Inspire, I'm not sure he can catch up to a Hecarim. It's a very fast pony. The chains come down. Seiya once again shields himself up. The Spirit of Dread not enough to keep Mimic alive, and Seiya will take the kill. Rift Herald was used mid, down to about a 3rd HP on that tower now.
Yeah, Mimic really greeting out for turret damage, and that wasn't even for plates, right? There's really nothing he's getting besides a little bit of chip damage there. does give up his life on the play, and here this is one more time. Ryoma down to the bottom side, spotted slow on the ward. They decide to go in, but Seiya and Audi have been very quick on these roams, very quick to respond to the plays, and Angelus gets Ryoma very, very low. Audi able to clean this up, and then it is FBI surrounded by 4 members, knows he's going down, but nails the Q to at least take one with him.
Really good decision making in the moment. It would have been easy to kite down through the lane, thinking maybe I can get past the Fiora, but still gets a kill, even using the ward across the wall just to catch him out. Seiya's going to take a tower in the top lane. It's a 2,000 gold lead for Isurus. Cloud Drake to Cloud Drake. And now we see what Bombers do when the map opens up a little bit more. We talked about it in Pick and Ban. They want to look for picks. They want to look for fights like this as they catch out slow. Nowhere to go. The Braum is down. And now Bombers turning up towards this top lane. Flash in for Audi. Rogue can't quite find the connection. Looking for that Flay. Trying to pull back the Kindred towards Vulcan. Still on the chase. The hook doesn't connect. The Cataclysm will, but Audi can just jump straight out of it. Sylas on his way up as well as Ryoma joins the fray, but Audi able to escape.
Yeah, it's really feeling like Bombers are trying very hard to force. They're feeling the pressure here. They don't have anyone answering Fiora on the bottom side. They didn't earlier have anyone answering the Karma, so they were trying to force plays, get kills to make up for that, and you know, they didn't really have the ability when that hook doesn't land to actually kill off Audi.
But can anyone answer Fiora in the side lane? You know, Bugax is 60 CS up, 105, Ravenous Hydra complete, has a Sheen as well. That Fiora is looking pretty unstoppable to me. And even if you try to do it with a couple of players, you've then got Seiya, who is 402, you've got a 213 Varus in the form of War Angelus, and you can just make catches like this. FBI goes down, now Rogue having to try and run, as Isurus push into the jungle of the Bombers, and Bombers just can't react. It's a double for War Angelus, and Isurus at Gaming are finding the picks that Bombers are looking for.
Yeah, they are completely taking over, and the tough part about it is if you can't answer Fiora at 18 minutes in a side lane at all, you've already lost the game.
You're never going to be able to answer her.
Yeah, so I mean, that is the tough part about it, and it does feel like they're really trying to force. They're feeling the pressure here, and Bombers are getting just thrashed by Isurus right now, who is up 5K pre 20 minutes, and you know, with a very strong composition to go forward into the late game. They have the ability to team fight. They have the ability to win in that side lane. You know, Fiora nearly 2,000 gold ahead of her lane opponent now, and here is this pick one more time. War Angelus straight in onto FBI, uses the Bork active, gets the slow, nails the ultimate. Very clean play then from them, but you know, Rogue trying to save his AD does get picked off as well. There's no one really has the ability to actually turn and fight there without FBI, who is the only kind of strong member on their team.
I think the other thing for Bombers is they don't have a huge amount of disengage. We talked about how good they are jumping on the back line. You've got zone control, but it's things like Cataclysm. It's things like Onslaught of Shadows. You're going in to try and disrupt the enemy team. You don't really have a good way to get out of it.
Yeah, you know, a lot of these champions are kind of that one-way trip. You know, your disengage is also your engage, right? So sure, the Hecarim can ult away to safety, but then you have no potency in the fight. So, you know, it's kind of a one or the other type thing, and that is what you're kind of dealing with when you draft a composition that is very, very heavily dive, that wants to go forward. If you can't go forward, you're left with very few options. So Bomber's going to group. They're not going to try to answer the side lane. You see they have 5 men mid. Well, Isurus is actually going for that 1-3-1, but this 3-man squad is incredibly safe here from Isurus. You have a Braum and 2 marksmen who can wave clear. You have the Kindred ult. So unless you can instantly kill that Kindred before they get the ultimate off, there's not really much opportunity there.
You do get the feeling, though, at some point soon, Bombers are just going to get a bit impatient, pull the trigger, go for that 3v5 fight mid, let the sideways just push however they want to be pushed. If they can win that fight, if they can take down that 3-man squad in the mid lane, then maybe they can start to get back in this game, because at the moment, Isurus are 5,000 gold ahead, and they are just looking like the stronger team under pressure.
Yeah, I mean, Bugax is a couple hundred gold away from his Triforce, and he built a Ravenous Hydra before the Triforce, and Mimic on the Hecarim has just completed his first item there with the Triforce. So yes, that is a very strong point in the game for him, but Vulcan getting bullied out of the jungle.
He was spotted out. He used the Demacian Standard to try and scout out a bush, so he had to burn his flash, and now another of those engaged tools is down. Ryoma's going to steal away the Lamb's Respite. He has that Kindred ult if a fight does erupt. Teleports. Bugax does not have his for the next little moment. So maybe the opportunity for a fight, but the Mantra Inspire onto Ryoma forces him away, and War Angelus and the rest of Isurus have just rotated up towards this top side. Here's the teleport coming in from the Heck Rim. Bugax is still just on cooldown. Bomber's going to take the fight. There's the teleport counter from the Fiora, but Isurus gaming. Oddie caught out from the rest of his team. The Lamb's Wrestler has to be used. Falcon Pulse the Cataclysm on the backline, but War Angelus already got one. It's a 1-for-1 trade as both the junglers go down. The hook just about lands onto Bugax, and maybe Bombers have found the fight, but Bugax is able to jump away with that Q, and the rest of Isurus just continuing to kite back. The hook doesn't quite connect. Mimic force low. The piercing arrow comes out as well, but won't quite get the damage in. And Bombers found an advantageous position, but was still only able to get a 1-for-1.
Yeah, and it did cost them double TP. A lot of resources expended there to get that 1-for-1 fight. Isurus will kind of slink away, not losing anyone more. The Dragon is going to be coming up, so they can look to reset. And we do now know that Seiya will be going into kind of the supportive items later on. Does already have the Athene's Unholy Grail completed. Will be building in towards an Ardent, and on that base actually did just get it. So now their team fighting becomes, it feels like nigh on unstoppable with the Mantra Inspire, with the AoE shield, buffing up the attack speed of all these marksmen who are already incredibly strong. It's going to be so difficult for this diving squad of the Bombers to really burst someone down before Audie can get that Kindred ult out. And in the kind of long fight, you certainly favor Isurus.
At the start of the game, we talked about how much pressure these two teams must be under. Have to remember, Isurus Gaming ran all the way through their playoffs. 3 best-of-5s it took them to win that league, whereas Bombers only had to win one up against Order. They 3-0'd that. Isurus maybe showing perhaps a little bit more of that experience under pressure paying off here in this game. The catch happens, the jump in from Balkan onto the backline. They take the shutdown. War Angelus is down, and maybe this is the fight the Bombers need. Seiya shut down as well. The Baron is there. They can go straight for Nasha.
Yeah, they've got to start it here. Bugax doesn't even have his TP, so he's going to run straight up. Audie is alive with both his ult and smite, so there is steal potential here.
Here we go, Azael, 6,000 HP left on the Baron, all 5 members of Bombers in the pit. Bugax down towards the bottom lane, taking a turret, but Audie can just jump across the wall, has the flash, has the smite, has the opportunity to make a steal for his team, but he's forced away by Mimic. Baron will fall, that's over to the Bombers, and here come the kills as well. Ryoma jumps across the wall, takes out Audie before he can even press his R key.
What a huge swing in the game here for the Bombers. A beautiful engage by Balkan. Flag and drag through multiple members. They get the kills right beside the Baron. Bugax is on the bottom side of the map without TP, so no real ability to join that fight. And Isurus, they're stepping too far forward. They felt so confident of their position in this game. That is multiple shutdowns going the way of the Bombers. The Baron buff as well. They have a new lease on life off of that fight.
We're going to see those items start to rattle in across the board for Bombers as well. Mercurial Scimitar, Blade of the Ruin King, Runans finished on FBI. Let's have another look at that fight. Just as I was praising Isurus for their play under pressure, Bombers come up huge.
Yeah, Isurus, they were fine. Slow was out, but they decided to go forward into this Balkan over the wall. They did not spot him, knocking up multiple members, locking in Seiya also. Those shutdowns were huge. And you can see Bugax makes the call to just try to take the tier 2, continue the push, Mimic out to the side, over onto Audie. He does have to get out of there, but Ryoma comes over the wall and is able to kill off Audie in that stun, bursting him down before he can get that Lamb's fight off. Bombers now on the push here with the Baron buff, and the split push matters so much less from Bugax. When your opponents do have the Baron, you can force them to take that fight. It remains to be seen if the Bombers can win the fight, but they're going to have an opportunity.
Definitely going to be a big gold swing here as well. 2 towers to 5 in favor of Isurus. With the Baron buff, you expect Bombers to get at least a couple of turrets out of this next push, and we'll start seeing that Baron power play go up to 4,000, 4,500 gold. They're going to take down this tier 2 in the bottom lane, equalizes the gold pretty much, 500 between the two teams at the 25-minute mark, and it's been an incredibly bloody affair. 23 kills in 25 minutes, but the action isn't stopping here, is it?
My kind of game. They're taking down another turret here as well in the mid lane, as you said, extending that advantage that they do get from the Baron. Pretty much dead even now at this point in the game. Gold differences really irrelevant. Yes, there is one additional Cloud Dragon on the side of Isurus, but who cares? It's not really going to make the difference.
Faster than they could before.
I mean, they are very helpful. I don't want to, kind of say that is not true, but certainly it's not going to be the game-deciding factor here. We'll see, though, if Isurus can kind of regroup, because they do still have the ability to close out this game. They are still in a position where they have an incredibly strong team fighting comp. They have the side lane advantage very heavily. The Flame Horizon has already been reached 26 minutes in here for Bugax. So for the Bombers, they have a clear plan. It is group 5 and fight. And for Isurus, their 4-man squad needs to play defensively and hold on, because Bugax is going to be at this inhibitor tower here very soon, and we'll see what the Bombers' answer is.
No teleport on Mimic or on Ryoma means that if they answer Bugax, they're not going to be able to join back with the fight. Everyone backed off. They have those bound-empowered recalls, but Bugax, with the Demolish proc, gets the tower pretty low. He runs away, manages to escape for the moment. Now, Bombers, the question is, you've got 16 seconds left on your Baron. That's really good. You know, you're not going to be able to use the Baron-empowered minions to do much more. But what are the critical moments, what are the critical plays that Bombers and Isurus need to do to be able to close out this game?
I mean, I think for Isurus, if you want to try to go for a split push victory, it's simply about your 4-man squad getting vision, being able to have eyes on the Bombers engagers. You can't lose track of guys like Balkan, like Mimic. We saw how a team fight can look if Balkan can get that kind of element of surprise engaging over a wall. So track the engage, ward up for your split pusher, allow Bugax to kind of have that side lane time. You know he can win any 1v1, so as long as you have everyone else tracked, he can go forward.
But a 2v1 is what Bombers are trying to do as Falcon comes in. Unstoppable Onslaught used. There's the teleport though. Bugax down to half HP, parries away. The rest of Bombers on their way. The Fate's Call comes in and Bugax will fall. The hook lands and that's another kill for Bombers. 2 in the side lane. And it looked like it was going to be a 2v2, but Bombers brought in the reinforcement.
Yeah, Seiya wishing he could cancel that teleport, to say the least. That was a bit of an NTP from him. He goes in and solidarity, I guess. They'll die together.
Goes in, he goes out pretty rapidly. Bombers will be able to get an Infernal Dragon off that and the push in this bottom lane. Looking for that inhibitor tower. The rest of Isurus not here to react at all. They backed off, they mistimed it. The tower will fall. The inhibitor, you have to think, is short to follow.
I mean, it's a 5v3, right? Can you even step forward and take that fight? If you lose that fight in your base, the game ends. They lost both of their solo laners there, as well as the TP off of Seiya. So another big win for Bombers as they find the odd-numbered fight in the side lane. Isurus unable to track where these engagers are. It is Mimic and Balkan, and Bugax would have had to be able to parry. He would have had to be able to parry the fear, the knock-up there to be able to have a chance of turning that around, but FBI and Rogue arrived at the scene very, very quickly. You know, Isurus didn't really have the ability to respond to that, so Seiya probably should have just accepted the death of his teammate and tried to defend their inhibitor tower. And now it is them down with an inhib. 45 seconds on the Baron. That means the bottom inhib will be down for the Baron spawn, and the Bombers are going to be able to have the advantage around that. With great engage, with a Callista to help secure, they certainly have a path to victory here.
They definitely do, and it was only a few minutes ago we were talking about how Isurus Gaming were 5,000 gold in the lead. Now 2,000 gold lead for the Bombers. The #1 team coming out from the OPL. So praised as well by Oceanic analysts. You know, Spawn has been singing their praises, telling me they're going to come second in the group throughout the entirety of the weekend.
I mean, this is essentially the OPL super team, right? That a lot of people are talking about. People are having FBI as the best marksman in the league. They have guys like Balkan, who is the rookie of the split. They have the MVP in the top lane. This is a very, very impressive squad who were extremely dominant in the OPL, and now coming here, battling back in this game against Isurus. They want to keep their hopes alive in this group.
Bugax takes down the inhibitor tower down towards that bottom side. Looks like Bombers aren't going to stick on this Baron. They don't have any deep vision, really, controlled out by Isurus. And with Bugax pushing, you have to think they have to answer that. Yeah,
and the 4-man squad here from Isurus, despite the mistakes that they have made in the last couple of minutes, is very, very strong. And Balkan, I think he's not looking at his screen there.
Teleport coming in behind them. He's still got the GA. The Lantern goes down as well. There's the GA popped. FBI trying to come back from the bottom of this fight. Unstoppable Onslaught knocks them back. Oddie flashes away. Here go Isurus. GA popped, FBI pops Rogue in with the Fate's Call. War Angelus caught, but he's in the Fate's Call now, as are the rest of the Bombers. The hook lands onto War Angelus. Great stuff there from Rogue, and the fight erupts. FBI just ripping through Isurus. It doesn't matter what Bugax does on the side lane when the rest of your team are dead.
They're going to try to go straight up to top lane. They're going to look to actually end the game here, perhaps 30 minutes in. Minions are already on that inhibitor tower. We'll see if they can actually get up there in time to do it. They're TPing in. They're committing to this play. You can see Bugax going to go back to base and desperately try to defend. But if you can't cut the minion wave, this is going to be it. And the Bombers may have pulled off the miracle team fight.
Incredible comeback here from Bombers. Just the Nexus towers between them and their first international victory. Bugax jumps in. The Lamb's Respite's a little bit too late, but Bombers are in a 4v1 situation. They get the kills, they sweep it away, and Bombers will solidify their first win at MSI.
What a game from the Bombers, battling back in what looked like they had been essentially checkmated. They were so far down, on the side lane, they were not able to win the 4v4, but Isurus, critical mistakes and not enough patience. When you have this massive side lane lead, you have Bugax who cannot be contested. They kept trying to take these fights, they kept looking for opportunities and getting punished by this OPL squad, and certainly so much credit deserved here by FBI, who was monstrous on the Callista. And when those Kindred ults came out, he was stacking the spears, he was being able to prep for that monster Ren coming out of the Lamb's Respite, and certainly had a hell of a game.
That was a fun game to watch as well. The swing, the comeback from Bombers across the board. As you say, incredible Callista performance from FBI. I want to give some credit to Ryoma as well.
Yeah.
His Lamb's Respites, the steals into using it to save his team after the Lamb's Respite dropped off from the enemy team was actually really fun. And he won a lot of team fights for his team by doing that.
Yeah, he really did. I think his play was very, very strong. Balkan certainly had some really critical engages as well. It looked like that last fight was going to go so bad for them because I do think he was actually watching elsewhere on the map. You know, he was so slow to react to that, but his team comes in, Mimic TPs, they actually are able to answer and find the fight, so credit to them. But player of the game going to be FBI.
Yeah, I mean,
certainly
deserved, isn't it?
Well deserved. I mean, he played incredibly well. You know, in that 2v3, I believe early on, he was able to get first blood before his support went down. He was able to kind of take all the advantages given to him and really be the key component, I think, to the Bombers' victory.
I think if I'm looking at Bombers just generally, looking at the rest of their tournament, the second round robin for them, FBI and Rogue, that bottom lane is where my hope lies, my aspirations lie. If they can keep them getting ahead and maybe play a little bit more defensively early on when the jungler might be around, they can definitely snowball a few of these games.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that FBI has stood up very well in a lot of these games so far, even in the losses, looking pretty impressive here. No surprise to see him dealing the most damage on his team. But Isurus is going to really be wanting this game back. This is one that you feel like they should be able to close out, certainly. They had all the advantages that they needed. You have a top laner who has more than Flame Horizon your opponent. You are very far ahead in gold, but they got over-eager at times. They didn't necessarily play to their win conditions, and I do think that this is something that both these teams have fallen victim to. You know, at times, you know, getting overeager for the fight, getting a little bit kind of bloodthirsty when they see an opponent they think they can get the pick, but sometimes it's not really what you need to do.
It's not always thinking the couple of steps ahead. Like you see an opponent in the bush, you're like, oh, we've got a control ward, we can take the fight, and then the Jarvan comes around from Fog of War and they just clean you up because of it. When we return, we'll hear from FBI before the undefeated PvB and Fenerbahce clash on the Rift, fighting to take the lead in Group A. Don't go anywhere.